It all started the morning after Labor Day weekend. I had just spent a great time camping, enjoying the long weekend, but as we packed up to leave, I twisted my ankle. It wasn't the first time I'd injured myself like this. I've sprained my ankle before, and while it hurts, I know what to expect. It swells, it aches, but typically, rest and icing it does the trick. Plus, who really wants to pay $1,000 for urgent care just to be told to ice it and rest? So, I decided to skip the doctor and went to work the next day, thinking I could power through. Tuesday morning rolled around, and my ankle was throbbing. The swelling had gotten worse, and every step was painful. Still, I managed to make it into work and get some of the morning tasks done. After a couple of hours though, it became clear that I needed to go home and rest. My job involves a fair amount of moving around, and staying on my feet was only making things worse. So, I went to talk to my boss and explain the situation. I told him, "Hey, I sprained my ankle over the weekend, and it's pretty swollen and painful. I'm going to need to take the day off to rest it so it can heal properly." Now, my boss is not exactly the understanding type when it comes to people missing work. He's the kind of guy who believes that unless you're in the hospital, you should be at work. So, naturally, he wasn't happy. He immediately snapped at me, questioning why I hadn't gone to the doctor. "You should have planned to see a doctor if you knew you were this injured," he barked, clearly irritated that I was even asking for the day off. I tried to explain to him that it wasn't necessary to go to the doctor for a sprained ankle that I'd had before. I knew what to do: rest, ice, elevate, and give it time to heal. But he didn't care. His only concern was that I hadn't gone to a doctor and wasn't officially injured. Still, I went home to rest, hoping that would be the end of it. The next day, Wednesday, I hobbled back into work. My ankle was still swollen, and the only footwear I could manage was a loose-fitting Croc because everything else caused unbearable pain. As soon as I walked in, my boss was on me again. "Don't you think you should get that checked out? I don't understand why you don't just go pay for it," he said with more attitude than necessary. At this point, I was getting frustrated. I explained, again, that I'd had this injury before, it wasn't broken, and the swelling was starting to go down. I didn't want to waste time or money on a doctor's visit when I already knew what they'd say. Plus, I was trying to be responsible by coming to work and doing what I could despite the injury. Most of my job involves desk work, and I was perfectly capable of handling that while resting my ankle. The 10% of the job that required walking around could easily be covered by my coworkers. It wasn't like I was leaving everyone to do all the work. But my boss didn't care. He continued to press me about seeing a doctor, and when I asked if I'd at least be getting paid for the sick day I took on Tuesday, he flat out said no, unless I had a doctor's note. Seriously? I thought to myself. You can see my ankle is swollen and I'm literally limping, but that's not enough. I need a note just to get paid for one sick day. I was fed up at this point. Fine, I thought. If he wants a doctor's note so badly, I'll go get one. So, a little later that day, I left work and headed to the doctor. I already knew what they were going to say, but I figured if my boss was going to be this stubborn, I might as well make him pay for it. Literally. At the doctor's office, they did an X-ray to make sure there were no fractures. Just as I expected, it was a simple sprain. The doctor told me exactly what I already knew. Rest, ice, elevate, and stay off of it as much as possible. Then, I told the doctor that my boss needed a note for the one day of work I had missed. She asked me if I wanted to keep working and just take it easy, or if I wanted to take more time off to properly rest my ankle. I thought about it for a second. I didn't mind going to work as long as I could take it easy, but if the doctor thought it would be better for me to take a few days off, I wasn't going to argue. I had sick time saved up anyway. So, the doctor wrote me a note saying I could return to work on Monday, which gave me the rest of the week off. I took a picture of the note and sent it to my boss with no additional message. He replied, "What's wrong with your ankle?" as if he hadn't been badgering me about it for 2 days. I didn't bother responding. He got his note, and now he'd be paying me for the entire week instead of just the one day I originally asked for. I couldn't help but laugh a little. All I wanted was to take one day off to rest my ankle and get paid for it. But because my boss insisted on being difficult and demanded a doctor's note, he now had to pay me for 4 days, 32 hours of sick time. He couldn't refuse it now. The note clearly stated that I was to be off until Monday, and there was nothing he could do about it. In the end, his stubbornness cost him more than if he had just let me take the day off without making a fuss.